scatter Yummy on my system here. But let's see. Yummy, I don't know what is happening, whether it's from my end.
Alright, let me call him back. I don't have anything open, is it? No. I don't have anything open. Let's go back.
I see him. Yes. Now we can see him. But this is Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. From everlasting to everlasting by Pastor Judera Wache and Son. I hope that you have enjoyed that team this morning. But wherever you are, share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages as well. As we go to our North London studios where my brother and co-presenter Mr. Koikimedia is, so that we can bring you updates from Nigeria. And I'm saying, Yummy, good morning to you.
Well, it is a very good morning to you back in the studio. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
A very good morning to you back in the studio, Mr. Achi. Good morning to all our listeners and viewers around the world and those that have joined us on the sister broadcast from the TikTok to the Twitter to the Facebook. And it's good to hear from Frank. While I was at the court yesterday, I got a call from him and I'll currently catch up with him. We couldn't catch up yesterday. Good morning, Frank. Good morning to all other presenters and welcome once again to the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Yes. Listeners, Mr. Koikimedia, yesterday we did promise he was in the court, but in this part of the world, you cannot, while the court proceedings are going on, you cannot be filming it live, cannot be doing that. So after the court, he managed to listen to everything there, and then after the court proceedings, he sent us a few of the videos and some of the images that the aftermath of that. So we're going to be going straight to him so that he can tell us more about that, because people were eager. People stayed on the program till 1 p.m. Everything that was after 1 p.m. Most people on the Facebook, people were loaded just there waiting for that update. So I'll give him the opportunity to bring that. But how are you? How is the family and everybody?
Well, the family, like you say, each time you ask for the family, I always say that the Chinese say when the business is good, the family is doing very well. The family are doing very well, even though we couldn't have, some of those evening that you want to have the dinner. But again, nature of the job, sometimes it doesn't happen. But again, the family are doing very well. And if the family are doing it, we always pray that the family in Nigeria should be doing the same thing. But unfortunately, we just can only pray.
We can only just pray. But listeners, Mr. Koikimedia for you. Okay, Yummy, let's proceed to what happened yesterday at the courts, because people are eager to know exactly what happened there. Over to you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to be quick and do a break because there's still a lot to talk about when it comes to Nigeria. There's so much happening in the last, couple of days, but let's focus back to, Alison Madueke Dezeni. We know that Dezeni was charged in UK. It is still an allegation as we speak right now. If you remember, I'm going back now to the National Crime Agency, website, sometime on the 22nd of August, while we were all just, out there doing some other work, there was a press release from the National Crime Agency in UK. And what was the reason for that? It says right there, ex-Nigerian politician charged in what we called a corruption case. That is the reason why we were in the court yesterday. The Star Radio UK team, were there with other journalists. The routers were there. It was quite an interesting, case because of the nature of a job. We're talking about the oil sector now. Remember that this individual we're talking about is called, her name is Dezeni Alison Madueke. I'm not too sure why her name did not appear as this in the court listing. I have the court listing with me. She's not the only one that was at the court. There were three of them. There was another woman called Olatundu Anyide. Olatundu Anyide, as we can tell you, has also pleaded, that she's not guilty. But where do we start from? When we got to the court, Alison was already in the court by the time I got there. But from what we were told prior to that was that there was a kind of she was only given a name and a date of birth and nothing more. The magistrate did not have what it takes, to handle this kind of case. It has to be transferred quickly to another case. But I can confirm to you that according to the magistrate judge, Alison Madueke, she's a flight risk. That literally means that, if she was going to be going home yesterday, the video that you're being shown right now to our viewers around the world is the first image of Alison Madueke since 2015. Nobody has seen her like this. Not that she hasn't been moving around in London, but I'm sure she has been doing so being in a disguised form. But as you can tell there, in the public arena, she can no longer hide from the camera, the glare camera that is rolling there. We can also tell you that she's not going to be traveling anytime soon. I throw the question to her. She smiled around it, but she knows that she's not traveling anytime soon until the case completed. But what I can also confirm, when the magistrate judge came back in at about 5 minutes past 12 noon, this is what he said. The case goes into the Southern Crown Court on the 30th of this month, October. We'll be there as well later on. The reason why she has been granted bail, I will tell you why, is because not that, the case brought to the magistrate court yesterday, it's a very, very serious crime we're talking about. We're talking about, according to the NCA, I'm quoting now from the National Crime Agency, in March this year, the NCA were also provided what we called evidence to the United States Department of Justice that literally enabled them to recover assets totaling $53.1 million linked to Daiseni. The question some of us have been asked is why then was she granted a £70,000 bail yesterday? Well, she did offer 50,000, but the magistrate judge, refused that. So that literally means that she was given, extra 20,000 on top of that. And that was why we stayed longer because, we have to wait until she perfected her bail. But one thing I can also tell our listeners on the Star Radio UK this morning is that Alison will not be able to leave her house from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. She will continue to live in the premises that she has given as her address in the court. And that also means that she's going to be tagged. I'm sure most of us know what that means. As an electronic tag, that will be linked to the nearest police station around where she lives at St. John's Wood. If she's not back home or she's outside that premises, that would trigger. And what the judge says that if you fail to perfect this, your bail condition, she can be arrested and then also sentenced. Let's now talk about the other individuals. We're talking about Alison Madueke says she's not working, but she was able to pull £70,000 yesterday. While I was looking at her in there, the other lady called Olatundu came back from Nigeria for the purpose of this particular case. She wanted to use that as an argument to tell the magistrate judge that she doesn't need to submit or surrender her passport. She has two passports, a Nigerian passport and a British passport. The judge says, I can't guarantee such. You are also a flight risk. She has a mortgage free in the UK. She only has about £12,000 and another £3,000 in her account, and that she's also have to pay that as a deposit. Going back to she has two children here in UK, 23, 25, two boys, also lives with her mother as well in the UK. She's also one of the carer. I'm talking about Olatundu now. She would not, just as Daiseni, they've been told that even going near to the port, I'm talking about the seaport, not just the airport, they are not allowed to do so because they are flight risk. Then the last individual is a 67-year-old brother to Alison, a grandfather, worked in the community, lives in Manchester. He has up to 5 p.m. to surrender his British passport today. He wasn't told to leave any kind of money. We captured the video of him, but unfortunately, probably maybe we'll use that later on tomorrow. He must stay at the same address. His passport must be surrendered to the police. He must not, just like the other two, apply for any international travel document. These are very, very strict bill given to them. They must comply with it. And just to come back to you in the studio, if Alison go against this bail condition, she will be arrested and she will be detained. Star Radio UK. And this is part of what took place yesterday. And as you can see there, we walked her up to where she was getting into the cab. They wanted to harass us, one of our team, but Alison quickly cautioned them, knowing the magnitude of what she's dealing with at the moment. And I don't think the last thing she wants for us as a Star Radio UK to file another charges for not allowing a journalist to do their job in the public arena. I'll come back again to you in the studio.
Well, listeners, that's quite an interesting one. An update there from the Scots yesterday with Mr. Koikimedia, who was on the ground there. Let me say good morning to my baby sister, Delta. I hope you are doing very, very well. Watching us all the way from Ghana, we salute you. Now, interesting. There were some news networks who have picked it up, saying that she's going to be extradited to Nigeria. How true is that?
Well, it is quite interesting because while I was monitoring what was happening on the case, I was listening to you as well, but we couldn't, communicate with you back in the studio yesterday. You're quite right. And I'm now going back straight to the EFCC, which is the Economic Financial Crime in Nigeria. It seems that the interest of the Zeni, because like I said, the last interview she granted was about some few years ago. She was here in this country, we know that, but nobody can tell exactly where she was. So yesterday, I think, the EFCC took advantage of the court case in UK, and I'm sure probably maybe there's a kind of arrangement that has been done between the EFCC and the National Crime Agency. But this is a press statement now from the EFCC Publicity and Media Head Dele Oyewale. The EFCC hails arraignment of Daizeni in the London court. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, welcomes with keen interest the arraignment of a former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Daizeni Alison Madueke, at the Westminster Court in Melbourne, London, United Kingdom, following alleged bribery allegation. Although the charges preferred against her at the London court are diametrically different from the 13-count charge bordering on money laundering the EFCC has raised against her, it is instructive to note that the criminality is criminality, irrespective of your jurisdictional differences. No crime can go unpunished. The money laundering charges for which Madueke is answerable to the EFCC covered not just Nigeria, the jurisdiction of Dubai, United Kingdom, United States of America, and Nigeria. To bring the former minister to trial in Nigeria, they have now issued an arrest warrant has been obtained and the extradition proceeding have been initiated. The commission is on course on the trial. She will soon have a day in the Nigerian court as well.
Well, interesting. But has she got a British passport?
No.
Okay. Then it's obvious they cannot protect her that much.
Well, they couldn't protect it on the can anyway from the extra, rendition and the kidnapping. But yes, she doesn't have a British passport. But whatever passport she was holding has now been surrendered, yesterday at the magistrate court. She looks very, very, very smart, in the outfit. And we look forward to seeing her again on the 30th, But for now, I'm sure she's just watching the Star Radio UK for the update on her.
Okay. I wish her all the best in her court case and proceedings. We hope that she stays at home so that she's not, incarcerated. She's just abide by the rules there. But listen, as it is Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London with Mr. Koikimedia in our North London studios. I'm actually here in the South Studios. And well, after how many months and days and whatever has happened, well, at long last, it has happened. So when you say, what has happened? Well, behind Mr. Koikimedia, you can see Chicago State University. Well. What is behind that? Apparently, the courts have released, the university have released the certificate and, I don't know, the details all to Atiku. Johnny, tell us more about that. And what has happened? Is the president dead?
Well, it seems that the president, I hope, doesn't have a kind of a BP, since yesterday, but they are working. I've been reading some of his minister, Festus Keyam. I'm going to tell you what he's saying. Let's come straight back to the conversation. Now, in the last few weeks, we've been waiting for what is going to be the outcome of the Chicago University that have now finally release what we call the President Bola Tinubu's record to Atiku. It's generated a lot of conversation so far on the social media. The Chicago State University at the United States of America has released to the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar the academic record of the president. What does Atiku want to really use this for is a question you might be asking. You can tell that from behind this camera, this background screen, that is the one that was tendered by the President Bola Tinubu. I know we can't see all the details, but from the one that has been released yesterday, there's so much discrepancy surrounding that both result. The question then is, in ordering this Chicago State University to release the academic record, the U.S. District Judge dismissed President objection. I was told from some of our intel in America that the President Bola Tinubu wanted to file another, delay tactics, but all that failed, and eventually, that wasn't allowed. But the judge ruled that the foregoing reasons, the court must overrule President Tinubu's objection to the magistrate Judge Gilbert recommended ruling and therefore adopt the ruling as well. Before I come back again to you in the studio, Atiku said he needed that application to be granted in the light of the pending Supreme Court of Nigeria deadline, which is meant to be in the next 48 hours. The base of the Chicago University representation that it is ready to compile with the discovery request and procedure. Now we will have to see what and how these will have any kind of impact at the Supreme Court. Remember that the outcome from the other court, the Election Petition Tribunal, confirmed that the president remains the president, while the Supreme Court, every one of us will have to wait for what is going to be the outcome. Atiku couldn't get this before the Election Petition Tribunal was completed, but it seems he has thrown all his weight to make sure that these documents are released. And like I said, looking at that document, there's so much that needs to be talked about inside. Once again, this is Star Radio UK, the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Now, you listeners, Mr. Ladi Pekin and Oakland studios, I'm here in the South Studios. Now, you looking at it, looking at both certificates, the one that whether he had, and then the one that the court has granted. What discrepancies do you see there? Just looking at it, straight on, what do you see? What are the differences?
Well, let's look at it from different perspective. When you look at the logo, every organization, every companies have their own different trademark. What we can see from the one that the president submitted to INEC has what we call a triangular shape. But the one that has been released yesterday has like someone holding with a hand. That itself is a flag. That is number one. The other question is when you look at the signature. The signature, from what I have been hearing, also means that whoever signed the signature of the one from the president submitted to INEC has now been saying that they will have to also be going to court, because their name is now being dragged out there. Again, let's go back and look at the difference as well. Yes, it's got the 1979, but there's also, we've been talking about the female male as well. We're talking about, the result is about 32 pages that have been released. We've not been able, because, we worked late yesterday, we've not been able to look into all the full details. But when you look at the subject that Tinubu, said he actually had, at that state university, again, it seems not to be as expected. So many Nigerians are now raising questions and questions. I don't know what is going to be the reaction from the presidency, whether they have to keep quiet or they are not. But I can tell you, this is a collateral damage so far.
Well, he did say that, he thinks that if it's released, that will cause trouble for him and his all staff. Like you said, we don't know whether he's going to be, and I think his medical team will be around him trying to do it. But do you think that, I mean, we'll have time to go through the 32 pages that have been released, the content and everything. However, do you think that can have an impact on the Supreme Court's hearing on this election petition at all?
Well, when we look at Nigeria, I don't want to come and say it is going to or not, but from looking at the judicial system in Nigeria, the judicial system is not strong. I mean, I was in the court premises yesterday and I was looking at the judge there, making his decision, and no one can overrun that decision. There was no DSS equivalent that would have been in the court to also harass, like, it was done. I mean, if Emefiele has committed a crime, let the court deal with it. But what we saw with Emefiele was gunshot around the premises of the court. Sometimes judges run out of the court so that they do not get into the crossfire. And if the judicial or the institution was very strong, I believe that, whatever the outcome from the Supreme Court now would determine also whether the president have lied under the oath when it comes with his result, because the result that was tendered has not matched. And if you look at the country where we are today, I mean, I'm putting it in the context of in Europe. If you lie against such a result, the first thing is you must resign straight away. But again, we're not talking about Europe here. We're talking about Africa, where everything goes.
Well, everything goes. So whether it's content, whether it's light, whatever is going on, he said, I'm here to stay. But let's see whether the courts will be able to stand up for themselves and show that they don't compromise or they wouldn't bend or they are not for tyranny. Listeners, it is Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. What has articles come said so far, and what has articles come said so far pertaining to that? Eventually, there will be a banter there.
Well, so far, I think, the legal team of Article probably just focusing to get these quickly and submitted before the deadline in the next 48 hours. So not much, from the Article team. But like I said, picking up from what, Festus Keyamo, one of the ministers that was appointed at the last minute, of this government, Festus Keyamo has responded. And this is what he said, is the Minister of Aviation as we speak right now. And I'm reading from about 10 hours ago. It is now obvious that the loss of Atiku Abubakar at the last polls hurt him deeply, more than all his previous losses put together. It has since sent him spine like a drunkard, lashing out to hold on to every single straw that resembles a lifeline. This is bad for his health. He should accept that this game is over, as the Chicago State University responses have shown, and retired peacefully to his famed abode. Those around him have a role to play in this. So you could tell that, a senior advocate of Nigeria says, well, as much as whatever Atiku wanted to gain out of this, is probably just pain. The question is not about pain now, it's about being truthful as individuals that wants to lead, the most populous black nation in the world. Under the tweet, somebody say, do give away. I know you're handsomely paid you. Well, I don't know what that means. Probably, expecting, the individual to give some money. But again, the reaction is we'll go into that reaction during the, when we go on the social media later on. But whether this is going to make a big impact at the Supreme Court, we would have to wait. These has literally dragged the name of the Chicago State University to a complete mud. But now that all these have been finalized, we would have to see if we can move further. So far, nothing is coming up to right now from the official X page of Atiku Abubakar for now.
Okay, Okay, listeners, it is Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. And every 32 the time you have any comments, feel free. You can post it on our pages on the platforms that we are broadcasting on. Those of you on the sister broadcast platforms that you are watching us on, we salute each and every one of you. And thank you very much. I want to thank you especially for those of you who were with us yesterday, just holding on because you were all eager to hear from Yomi from the courts. But while he's brought you that, so now let's move on. Well, the certificate has been released. Let's see what is going to happen. We'll tell you more comments on when it comes to what is happening on the social media platform. But now let's just go straight to the TUC, the NLC, the strike that we were thinking, an indefinite strike that we were planning to embark on last Wednesday on Niger Voices was discussed at length. And the question is whether whatever government is giving to them actually is enough for all workers to say, you know what, we can step back. Because I remember yesterday, I think the federal government was saying that they're going to increase the wages of the federal workers to about
35,000 naira.
Yeah. So is it something that has appeased them, and now they are backing down on that quest to actually embark on an indefinite strike? Yeah.
Well, nobody wants, I mean, I was waking up this morning and I could see that, the medical doctors in UK are all loaded in a coach heading to where? The Conservative, conference going on in Manchester because they want increased payment as well. So it is not just in Nigeria, the inflation is out there. There's a lot of, prices, even though we know that UK, the food prices have gone down from the report coming out this morning. The question is 6 months going to be enough to convince Nigerians or the Nigeria Labour Congress and the TUC? Well, it seems that President Bola Tinubu, remember I told you that it's, on Friday, that he must arrive back in Nigeria on time before the Independence Day. Well, the president had some issues flying through the Nigerian airspace because they're going to bring down the Nigeria aircraft, the presidential aircraft. So they had to have a stopover in Algeria, replan the route, and it took the president some few more hours to arrive in Abuja. But he arrived in Abuja, and I'm sure you've been giving them, because I did listen yesterday, what he said. But coming back to the Labour Congress and the TUC, there was another, meeting, and that meeting was what led to what we are discussing now, that 6-month allowances to the federal government to spend 350 billion naira. The Labour decided, let us see how that goes. We will suspend it. We have seen that many civil workers or those that work with the in the public sector or with the government, most of them do not get paid. So what happened is even there's an increment in the salary, just as the UK also have announced that there will be £10 for those of us that are going to be paid every year from next month. I mean, from the new year, April. If 35,000 naira, is on the table, can the state pay these, or is it going to be something that the federal government would have to intervene with some of the states? We know some of those states do not even pay the minimum wage. The question is, will they be able to pay these amount of money? It seems that maybe there's a kind of money from the subsidy that has now been stopped that the government is going to use to subsidize this payment. But they have to make sure that it is still going to happen just for the 6 months to start with. The federal government may incur what we call 350 billion naira in a wage bill for the next 6 months due to the newly introduced allowances for the federal workers. We know that there's still a strain when it comes to the economy. The prices are still very high. But this came as the organized labor agreed that, rather than going into that strike today, they have suspended till next month again. Well, we will have to wait and see. But like I said, the resolution followed about 5 hours deliberation between the federal government and also the labor, including the chief of staff at the conference room, which many Nigerians continue to be excited because these are buildings that we've never seen for some time.
Well, listeners, it is Star Radio UK. Mr. Koikimedia and North London Studios. Well, Labour says they're no more going to be embarking on that strike. But the president made a statement, the independence speech, and people have bastardized that, saying that doesn't go far enough. We had the PDP that was talking about all that. But the question is, the wife and the president's wife has also come out to say that, look, my husband is not a magician to fix Nigeria's issue. Somebody will say, well. He knew that what he was getting himself into, and he decided to embark on that. So what did he say about that? And how come that, because as you have said, there are some states that would not be able to pay the 35,000. We had it several times where there've been increment, and some states really pay. People are still working 2 months, 3 months, and they've not received their salaries. And I ask myself, how did I get to the workplace? They are all magicians. How are they? The first position, they put people in a place where they have to be corrupt to be able to survive.
Well, maybe while there you're saying that, we might say that, the picture behind you is one of the royal father in the Yoruba land known as the Oni of Ife. We say the Ojaja the Second. He has actually pleaded with Nigerians to exercise patience with President Bola Tinubu administration given the current economic situation. Oni made this appeal during the visitation of his family compound as part of what is known as the Olojo annual festival in Oketeshe area of Ile-Ife yesterday. Going back to what you're saying, I mean, yes, many states cannot afford to pay this kind of salaries. But again, it seems that maybe the federal government will have to subsidize this, until 6 months and then perfect it. The question we should be asking is, after 6 months, will the government increase it? And why is it 6 months? Why not 1 year? And if they're going to be for 6 months, are we saying that the government is just trying to play what they call cat and mouse between the NLC so that Nigeria do not go into much problems that the government is currently trying to tackle? Just like, the president's wife, Remi Tinubu said that the husband is not a magician. They've also met problems, just like the previous administration of the former president Muhammadu Buhari said when he came into the government in 2015, that there was problems that was left behind by the PDP. But this time around, Tinubu does not know who to say left the problem, but it seems that he's trying to unravel some of those problems. And the biggest problem has to be in the CBN, where money has been moved. So this government seems to try to stabilize the situation. The last thing the government will want is a shutdown of the country. That will quickly crumble Nigeria faster.
Well, a shutdown of the country, would that happen? Somebody would say that no, they will do their best to get things done. But what have been the reaction from the statement of the president, the first lady as well, where he said that the husband is only a magician? What have been various statements that have come from various quarters?
Well, you could tell that Nigerians, get very hype up, especially knowing fully well that, sometimes these individuals need to be very, very careful, with what they're saying, their utterances. But unfortunately, Remi Tinubu hasn't said that. Omobolaji Abdullahi said, and I quote, with a emoji of 3 smile, your husband, Jaga Bandit, is a marabot. Well, I'm not too sure how that links with, Remi Tinubu, but, we know what the marabot is all about. Agbado, I'm sure this man must have changed that name to Agbado because we know that Bola Tinubu loves that word Agbado all the time. But he says, Remi Tinubu, your husband claimed he was hiding the strategy to fix Nigeria. Tell him to implement the strategy. Enough of lies and excuses. We take 2 more. And this one says, and I quote, She Egbo, First Lady, and I'm not going to use the other word because, and this individual says, thank you, ma. He isn't different from Buhari either. And this is coming from at Isilema, Bomatebo, Isilema. So these are part of the reaction. But like I said, this government is still very young. But it seems that the previous administration that could have given the stepping stone to this administration did worst. So the new administration now doesn't want to put the blame, because this is not the PDP. He doesn't want to put the blame on Buhari. But again, at some point, they will have to put the blame on the previous administration.
Well, let's see whether they'll put the blame on them. And let's see what is going to happen when it comes to the court hearing, the Supreme Court hearing as well. Because if Atiko's certification, receiving of the certificate of Tinubu is something to say that, well, he's been lying to the state all this while. Maybe that's something that's going to end the whole race. But we don't know what is going to happen there. Listeners, it is Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. So when you call in on Northland, this is Samati here. We're going to now leave you me to bring you more of the story that is, the rest of the story that is got and what is happening on the social media platform. Over to you, Young.
Well, as the Onion of Ife begs Nigerians to remain very patient and calm while this administration continue to find, the lasting solution. The monarch admitted that Nigeria is currently at its trial period when citizens are facing a lot of challenges in all ramifications of life. I know that people are passing through difficult periods in which they are not finding life easy, and truly, this is a challenging period. But I know that after this festival, normalcy will return to the country as the problems we are facing will soon come. Maybe the Ooni of Ife has spoken to the gods of the Yoruba land, to bring normalcy and make sure that there's peace and there's also unity. Well, therefore, let's all hands be on deck, for a tree cannot make a forest. Neither any nation can get to its promised land without the contribution of the generality, Oba Ogose stated. So we go straight back into some of the other news at exactly 11:43. We spent quite a lot of time. As we go into it, it seems that 12.5 kg cooking gas has now hit 12,500 naira. It's coming from the headline. Prices of the 12.5 kg of the liquefied natural gas has gone up to 12,500 naira as Nigeria celebrates our 63rd independent anniversary. Also on Sunday, the Yorubas had a very small gathering right in front of the Nigerian High Commissioner in London. While that was going on for like 3 hours between 12 to 3 p.m., there were other people that came in as well to protest against the outcome of the result as well in Kano State. One more from the business side, Nigeria and others need $2 trillion to achieve a net zero emission, according to the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Says that Nigeria and other emerging countries will need about $2 trillion annually. Well, I'm not sure where we're going to find out such money by 2030, which is just 7 years from now, to achieve the transition. I mean, we're talking about people that are still hungry. They're talking about what we call the net emission that is happening. We know many cars in Nigeria, as a lot of our importation comes from the US. We've looked at the data before. Most of those cars are not brand new, but again, these are accident vehicles. And sometimes the question is, according to the report, achieving the transition of what we call the net zero emission by 2050, substantial climate mitigation, investment in emerging market. Many Nigerians will be asking, are we talking about climate change when many Nigerians are struggling, to have the food on the table? 1,000 naira per litre diesel price unchanged despite the VAT removal. I was comparing that yesterday, while I was at the Malibon Road, very busy road with so many tourist attraction places, which Nigeria would have used, to get many of those that want to come into Nigeria. But you don't go to a country where the insecurity is not put in place and the infrastructure as well. I mean, we remember that, very close to Baker Street, we have the Madame Tussauds. There was queue around the block. There was also opposite, it was the university. There was the London Business School with a lot of foreigners. Nigeria would have made a lot of money when it comes to what we call infrastructure education. Many Africans would have come to study there, and that would have given us, some kind of money. But again, we hope that the administration will look into that. Arrest inflation, provide infrastructure, industrialists urge the federal government. According to the managing director of the Bullion Go Knit Global Limited, Ambassador Olufemi Ajadi has urged the federal government to check on the inflation in the country as a way of making life more meaningful for the masses. Ajadi gave this advice while delivering that Independence Day anniversary appeal to the federal government. And on Wednesday, on the Niger Voices, we'll be focusing on what has been your gain being a Nigerian since independent. And all these will be the questions we're going to be using as at the time on Wednesday in the next 48 hours. Let's go straight to the social media. I'm going to come back again to one or two more. Once again, this is still the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. the 3rd of October 2023. Happy birthday to Mrs. Awoniyi and the rest of those celebrating their birthday today. We take one more. If God was president of Nigeria, most of us would not survive. This is coming from Mensa Otabe. Who is this individual? The clergyman referred to Moses and the Israelite crossing of the Red Sea, pointing out that the triumph was ironic to God's ultimate plan when they encounter him at Mount Sinai. The general overseer of the International Central Gospel Church, Dr. Mensa Otabil, has drawn a comparison between Nigerian presidency and God's kind of leadership, saying most Nigerians would not make it through God's strict rule if he were the country's president. Well, Otabi made this known yesterday in a live appearance at the platform, a non-political and non-denominational program that was hosted the Covenant Nation in Igomu, Lagos. God is not your president. You just have to pray, because if God is your president, you will be so uncomfortable with life. If God was president of Nigeria, most of us will not survive. So how does God behave as the president of a nation? Well, check Israel. When he was the president before they had a king, he ruled them. And how did he rule them? So you can tell that many Nigerians use different analogy. He says that if God gave them electricity by day and air conditioning by night, he provided support. He provided water work system. He gave them the water from the rock. And so in terms of their well-being, he supported them. I'm sure many Nigerians will say, well, we don't want God to sort things out. We want the human being that God has brought in to deal with it. Just as we talked about, the charges of the alleged crime against corruption, to the tune of millions of dollars to Alison Madueke and the rest of them. So as we go into the social media this morning, there's a lot of, discussion on the social media. The Chicago State University, as you can tell, is trending at about 134,000 tweets this morning. Occupy Go protest is also trending this morning. But the most important trend as well is the certificate. And guess what? The president seems to be trending at about 388,000. Well, I'm not sure the president loves to be on the social media, because he has already told us that he will be running away from the social media. So let's see what people are saying, in response to the, outcome of the Chicago result, in the last few hours. And it's going to be different, individuals, depending on where they stand. Some stand with the Peter Obi, so you probably tell from their tweet, or probably as Nigerians, every Nigerian is speaking on this university saga. Let's go straight from what Charlie Boy, area father, says. My people, Faonyash don't finally open. Chicago University don't release all Tinubu manuscript article. Una don't they see where everywhere they smell for this weak country now. They say when the head of a fish is rotten, the rest of the body will be in a state of rottenness. Adetutu Balogun, meet Chief Mrs. Bola Tinubu, the Grand Commander of Froster in the Republic. That is coming from Adetutu. Farouk Parogi, a non-partisan view of the CSU, which is the Chicago State University document dump, 6 major findings about Tinubu. Well, it seems that many Nigerians will have to study these and have to come up with different ways and their own, narrative. But Farouk says that he's not going to be partisan, but he has actually discovered a few things. Let's see what he has discovered, since we're still on the case of these certificate that we're talking about before we come back again to you in the studio. Once again, it is 11:50. It's been a long one, but again, it is the finest African. Number one, Chicago State University Office of the Registry affirmed that Bola Tinubu indeed attended the university from August 1977 through June 1979. He was awarded a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with honor on June 22nd, 1979. The registry also saw to these under oath. The penalty for lying under oath in America can stip. It is a punishable offense for up to 10 years. This information is consistent with my September 2nd, 2023 column. Number two, the certificate, we call it diploma in the US. The Tinubu submitted to INEC is inconsistent with the certificate issued in 1979 and subsequently indicating that Tinubu forged his US diploma, a mere ceremonial document that most employers don't ask for. Transcripts directly from university are usually ways just to verify attendance and graduation. Although he legitimately graduated from the Chicago University in 1979, He obviously lost his certificate and instead of applying for a replacement, decided to forge it. Let me come back again to you again in the studio, Mr. Archie. That strikes me as a mysterious self-harm. It cost only $26 to get a replacement diploma from the CSU. Let me give you, I came to the UK in 1998 and I wanted to apply for a foundation program at the London Metropolitan University in Holloway. I presented my West African examination result. It was rejected. And the reason for being rejected because they couldn't verify the result. Probably individuals before me have used it. I'll probably tender a fake. I wouldn't know. But I was told if I had a different, exam from that particular one that I can use. I did have one, but I didn't pass it. So I thought I don't have to tell them I attempted the Cambridge O-level in Lagos before coming to UK because I didn't pass. But I said maybe I should just tell them I did it, but I didn't pass. And they were so excited that I even attempted it. And I was told that you can get that result back without you stressing with less than £20 as at the time. They gave me a phone number. I made a call. I made the payment and my result was sent to me. That result was accepted as against my WAEC result.
Yeah. I also presented my WAEC result and they didn't want to accept that. So they had to take my diploma that came from the university that I went to. That's what they wanted. They wanted that one rather than the WAEC. They didn't want.
And the WAEC is meant to be one of our biggest, West African examination that what I was told at the time was that there's no office in UK that would make them to be able to confirm it. And the bottleneck to confirm it in Africa was no go area. So there was no way they're going to accept it.
Well, listeners, we say more 11:54 the time. But you know what, tomorrow, John is going to be joining me again. But we'll be telling you more about what is happening after the release of this certificate. And Tinubu should have just paid what? $30 or what? $36 to get an authentic one. Now, it's called something. Now, the one that have been released is different from that one. So how did he get that? So has he been lying to us all the time that he was a governor and now becoming the president? Would that actually get him out of office? Oh, this one is our own kid. It's all right. We like him like that. Is that what is going to happen? Well, listen, it's Star in the UK. Let's go to Yomi for Eternal Wealth, and then we'll move on with the program. Over to you, Yomi.
Well, remember that if you can follow us on the Star Radio UK on Twitter so that you can get up-to-date news and headline coming out of the country and also other news from around the world. Actually, we'll take you through the rest of the program, but like we always say, there's a lot of work that we do on the Star Radio UK, and we hope you will continue to join us Monday to Friday during the morning show when I join at exactly 11 o'clock for all the news updates from Nigeria. On that note, I'll take you back to Archie, where I'll be back again same time tomorrow, 11 o'clock on the Star Radio UK network.
All right, thank you. That has been Mr. Olabi Koikimedia and North London Studios. I'm bringing you updates from Nigeria. It's been a lengthy one, but it's worth it, right? Did you enjoy it? Good. Thumbs up to you. But well, let me bring you some music that will make your day. It's a long time since I played that. It's one of my favorite Yoruba music. And
wow. Voila, now they finish for Nigeria. I know a lot of you will always think that, there's a hatred for Nigeria. Nigeria is not a country. It's not a country at all. It's just a big shame. On if they know what they are doing. He hasn't killed anybody. I'm talking about Tani Olon. I'm sure most of you have heard the story about him. If Tani Olon is still being held, and there's any with the amount of different things, alleged against her, she has returned back home. That tells you that Nigeria is never going to work. But the problem is many people do not want to accept that. The moment they say you hear that Nigeria is not going to work, they get hype up quickly. They're like, where did this one they talk? Who are you to tell Nigeria is not going to work? I think that's what some of you are thinking. That, who am I to tell you that Nigeria is not going to work? Whether it's going to work or not, there's a government in place, and let the government continue the work. There'll be the talk on the result. Do you think that the result will change anything? I mean, the certificate. I don't think so. No be Nigeria. I don't think so. What about you? Do you think so? What is your take on it? So, we're going to wind down a little bit. And then we'll probably come back when I'm fully set up for the next afternoon program. We should not give up yet. I'm not talking about giving up on Nigeria. If you don't want to give up on Nigeria, it is your right. Everybody loves to become Nigerians. I mean, I love to become Nigerian at some point, but I don't think I want to become Nigerian. Because looking at the case yesterday that I'm still talking about before we went on the Star Radio UK, now that I'm back, into my own platform, why should this country deal with such case? Number one, my expectation is that every time that a government change over, I don't know whether you agree with me on this or disagree with me. Do you think that all the ministers must not be allowed to leave Nigeria? The moment a government completes, every minister should not be allowed to travel out of the country. Probably keep them somewhere while they have to vet every one of them. Because if not, Dezeni will be in Nigeria and she would have been charged for the same offense that we have charged her with. Muki Yawa Fatima. Muki Bugwelen can say very good afternoon. Kenny Bright, Big Daddy. So I don't think so. So I was looking at the case yesterday and I'm thinking this case should be in Nigeria, not in UK. Because this individual, even though, I mean, the reason why the UK wants to charge her is because there's a link to the movement of the whatever money that was traveling. And like we heard from that, from the National Crime Agency, stated like £100,000 cash. You must declare whatever needs to be declared. Even at the point of traveling in and out of UK or anywhere in the world, I'm sure some of you know that. If I'm traveling, which I hope I will have that kind of money anyway, if I'm traveling out of the UK, there is a certain amount of money that you can carry with you. I'm sure a lot of you know that. If I carry more than what I am not meant to carry, what do you think is going to happen to me? It's a question I'm asking. Mustafa. What do you think is going to happen? If I end up going, sorry about that. If I end up traveling like I'm going to Nigeria, Mufiwasi Nigeria, Mwani more than 80 Wanikinyogbe Kugbidani, I end up having more. What do you think is going to happen? Some might be lucky. I don't know. You might walk away and nobody stop you with such money. But the dogs at the airport, taba smell the bag, and they realize that you have substantial amount of money that you did not declare, you will be detained. That is, thank you so much, Just Reason. That becomes a money laundry. So even if they were going to charge Alison in Nigeria, which the EFCC is also saying that we want to charge her anyway. Because the EFCC, not that, they're all corrupt anyway. The institution, the institution in Nigeria is not strong. Innovate, good morning. Good afternoon. Mr. Martins. The institution that we have currently in Nigeria is not strong. How many people agree with me on that? So, if the institutions are very strong, most cases to one in Nigeria should have been dealt with. At least most of the cases. There are so many high-profile cases. One of them is, I'm sure you've heard about, FFK. FFK is still going to court. Do you think that you will get justice? So when people are now saying, we want justice for Mohbad and justice for all these people, and I'm thinking to myself, where is this justice going to come up with? How? Explain to me. Because the justice that you want is not going to happen because, so a lot of you must start to understand that Nigeria will charge Alison Madueke, though they want to charge her, but I don't think anything will change if Alison was operating, from Nigeria. Okay, shame. This is not trans. We're going to still stick on Alison. And then, once again, a very good afternoon to every one of us. Nigeria is EFCC just want to take pounds from their own flesh. Benny. They know that she has a lot of money. Because, she's not just an ordinary individual. She get boku money. I mean, we're talking about $53 million. Maybe until we link with the one in America. So Alison is well loaded. Well loaded. She well loaded. So she's got good, she's got good money. So people like that, Alison get good money. So, but my question is, are Nigerians serious? How can we continue like this? While some of you are struggling, all you need is just few thousand naira to start business. But the money that you got low, if you fix a lot of the problems, those money have left Nigeria. It's a very sad situation. It's a very, very pathetic, sad situation. But people like that also have followers that prefer that, what she's doing, there's nothing wrong in that. Not that the other part of the world, there's no corruption. But we are concerned because we're not worried about what is happening around the world. We're worried about we Nigerians. Our are worried. Because nothing concerns me whether America, but America should stop the corruption money coming into their country, just like the UK should do that. But they are not, because they are also benefiting. Whatever the corruption cases against Alison Madueke, it takes two to tango. There were lawyers helping them to move whatever they were moving. You're right, Ebomi, DG75. It's a very sad situation. These are money that should have been used to help Nigerians, every one of us. So even for those of us that are not in Nigeria, if those money have been invested in our embassies, I could get my passport as quickly as possible without going through stress. But because Nigeria is just a country that doesn't work because of the amount of money that has been stolen out of Nigeria, the amount of money that has been stolen out of that country is not a small money. It's a lot of money. How do we stop all this? Can Bola Tinubu stop the corruption? I'm asking. Do you think that the current president, Bola Tinubu, can stop the corruption? The way where they look at the Zeni yesterday, I'm like, what? They had a lot of, international interest. Their interest is not for you and me. Their interest is for outsider. Because if you go back to the case, from what we've been reading on that particular case, according to the case says, and I quote, according to the head of the National Crime Agency, International Corruption Unit, said, when I was suspecting the Zani, Alison Madueke, abused her power. She's not the only one that have abused the power. Ben Yami, Fatima, mommy. You might be wondering, why are we picking on her? We're not picking on her. She's not the only one. But we're talking about a case here now that is, Because it's a public interest case. That's why we got to talk about it. Not that she's the only one, but for now, she's the one that I can confirm have been brought to UK, because all the ones that they told us in Nigeria, they have not been able to charge them to court. I mean, to finalize the case. How can the case be going on for like 5 years, 7 years in Nigeria? Kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀? Ṣé wọ́n ní judge ni? Ṣé wọ́n ní evidence ni? They have the evidence, but they are protecting certain set of people. Nigeria is about who. And to buy money. If you know your way around, they'll probably forget about some cases. But you, small people, still small thing. Do you know how many innocent Nigerians are languishing? Egbomi DG, Ekason, Etewa Nibishe, and those of you that are just starting work in America. I know you might be very, very angry when somebody like me talks, because it feels like I'm attacking most of you. I am not attacking. You are not the problem. Me, I'm not the problem. The problem are the same set of people that are turning us against each other. I met an Igbo man yesterday. He was crying, an elderly man. He's been in this country since 1972. He's a lecturer, part-time. So it's not about we are fighting each other, but we are asking questions that we've never asked before, because these are staggering amount of money that you see being used to develop countries around the world. I'm looking at the HS2. The HS2 is going to be the fastest train that can move you from London to Birmingham. It has cost billions of pounds. The same money should have been used to fix Nigeria if they are not moving the money out. Because for every time they move 1,000 naira out of Nigeria, it is not helping Nigeria. It's as simple as that. For every time Toba move Owoja in Nigeria, it is not helping the country. These are money that should have been used to build the better Nigeria that we all dream for. Because we all dream for a better Nigeria, is it? I'm sure you all do. Some of you still do. But how do you have a better Nigeria when those that are meant to pilot the better Nigeria are not doing the needful? Don't expect Igbo people to tell you what to do and not what to do. It is you that have to go and do what you have to do. Okay, look at what this man is talking now. Yeah, this managing director of Bullion Gold Knit Global, Ambassador Lufemi Ajadi, is talking about the basic thing, Moki, our great solution. I'm not let it there. I'm not let it, this time yesterday, we were still, this time yesterday, the magistrate judge was just giving, because I wrote the time down that it started, 5 minutes past 12. Then he started giving us, reason why they have to grant the Zene a bail or not. She was lucky she got that bail. She was very, very lucky. The Zene was very, very lucky that she got the bail condition. Very, very lucky. She was lucky. But it cost her 70,000 pounds, 85 million naira. I was expecting more. Taking change in it for people like that. It's a small peanut. Could hold off in a private jet. Infrastructure. Industrialist. Provide infrastructure. Why have they not provided infrastructure? The money has been stolen out of Nigeria. Abacha took so much out. They returned some back. I'm not sure whether you will ever get the outcome of the money they return. Because question is now being asked. The money that was told in terms of the return Abacha money. Where is all this money? Where is this money? Nibuloa, nobody knows. Yes, we were told, where's Malami today? The former AGF. They leave some money, they buy property, they build houses, but they move this large chunk of money out of Nigeria and save it in the tax haven. While we are saying, look at how many people saw the road accident in Sapele. Why do we not have durable roads? When you look at when I go out, the question you should ask yourself is, I mean, the whole size of some of the roads sometimes is just very, very tight because UK will need space. Benny, Baba, me, Mr. Far, they re-embezzle the money. When you look at the road network, when I go out and I'm sitting on the top of the bus, that's the beauty of when I don't. Fatima Mustafa, Salam alaikum. You ask yourself, why are these roads durable? You know, as you know, they see that road. For underneath that road, there's underground that is also taking people back to back. It's moving like point to point. Why have we not got to that stage? Is it because we are still young when it comes to democracy? Because some are still saying, oh, Koiki, we understand all this you're saying, but this country is still young. I picked something from the newspaper on my way out, and I want to talk about it. You know, when I read the paper, I want to link something with this conversation. Oh my God, I'm not being in your. Sorry about that. I'm on TikTok here. Oh man, J Bruku data. I didn't know that. Each time I was running the TikTok in the house, I was using my data. I was struggling throughout yesterday because I didn't fully prepare for the program yesterday. So back up, it might be on Facebook and the rest of the platform. I couldn't stream on those platforms because it was Sunday. We were out there on the rally, right? Or the broadcast, emotional rally, because it was just a broadcast. By the time I got back home, the Egypt launched the what's it called? The central office. I want okay, then what happened after that? I was just a little bit tired. And then I went to bed. Normally, Kito Lawson, my make sure we device because you know, for the nature of the job that I do, most of my broadcasts come from my phone. So the last thing I want is my phones not to be charged. If they are charged, I can take 3 hours from them, you know, straight up when I'm outside. And hopefully, I know we can improve our broadcast because some of you complain that, you know, the quality is very low and all that. But you've got to remember that the reason why it will be different from time to time is because we are not, how do I want to put it this way? Okay, I was outside yesterday broadcasting. I don't have a van parked somewhere like the BBC that they are now using the van as their studio. All they just need is just 3 cameras pointing into the front of the court. But the transmission is not going from that camera, it's going from the van through satellite. So that is why we have to invest so much in a very good quality mobile phone so that we can be able to give you, you know, that program that we are doing outside. So I must have a very good phone. We can have a camcorder to do my recordings and then I bring it home. That literally means that you will not be able to watch a live transmission when I'm outside. You probably have to watch a recorded one, which I'll just be carrying this camera like that. I mean, they are small ones now anyway. Because yesterday, while I was there yesterday, while I was doing my own live, which run up to only God knows how many hours, Nimofin run live here. AFP was next to me. How many people know what they are? AFP. They are top notch when it comes to news. AFP. The AFP have a lot of people that work for them. It's called the Agency France Presse. It's a French international news agency. Their headquarters is in Paris. Woman to cover for Lano. She had a very, very powerful camcorder, but she was not going live. She was just there to capture the few moments. I've not seen it yet on their network. Maybe Oma Sendes in France, because after to Shiton, she was doing the editing and all that. So bear with us. Sometimes the quality might not be as much, but we're trying our best, to make sure that we give you the quality when we are outside broadcasting. If I have, my way, we would do more. But for now, we can only work with the little resources within my capacity. And also, you got to remember that I am the only one operating from here. Not that we can't get extra bodies. But again, it will have to cost money. I can employ somebody. But the moment I employ them, that means I must say that I have to. The minimum wage in this country is £10.47. Who want the paper at Roy? This is what Huge Grant says on the minimum wage. So if I'm going to say to anyone to say, you're going to work with me tomorrow at £11, I must be able to pay them that amount of money. And then that means I have an extra hand and we can do extra things. But for now, I'm the only one operating, a one-man operation. In Nigeria, I have 25 team on the ground that I can allocate work for and say, do this. I can bring extra to say, okay, and Losi Ondo, I can do that. But from here, you will just have to bear with us for now. Because even according to Huge Grant, Jeremy Hunt, my living wage rise will make work pay. They want you to go and work in this country. It's the same thing we want in Nigeria, but it hasn't happened. Lowest paid workers will earn at least £11 an hour from April, according to the Chancellor. He's the Chancellor. His house is the one next to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Each time you see me at number 10 down the street. Only lati April boy. This is £11. She money £1. So I think I should have a pound in my thing by thing, no? Because sometimes you spend that little £1. I don't think I have £1. It's not £1. No. All right, I'm gonna get another £1. No, I should have a pound. I think I should have a pound in my pocket. This is the minimum wage from the lowest skilled workers in this country. Okay, £1 calculated. So from April, we need to get another £1. From April next year, this is what we are going to be paying. I mean, not me, yes, if I'm going to employ somebody. The government expect me not to cheat whoever I'm going to employ. I must pay them the minimum wage. For now, the minimum wage is £10.42. But from next year, they are adding extra 58 pence. So now work it out this way. If I was working for somebody, let's factor this, and I was told to go and cover that event, like Routers was there as well. Chinese Kekireni. Every girl can take picture and about video here. Every girl can be Chinese here. She's working for Routers. She could be a freelance, because most of these individuals are freelance. Routers is another very powerful news agency. In the long run, like Barolong, we can also become a news agency. That means that any one of you can say, Mr. Koiki, I feel darapọ̀ mọ́ news agency, and you'll be reporting for me, but I must pay you. I must pay you. Thank you so much, for that intercession, comrade. Eshigoni, appreciate. So, while I was there, 11 o'clock, Lano, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was 60 pounds. I would have been paid if I was working for somebody. I hope you're getting the message now. If I was working for somebody, that is my salary. No go come. No lowo. Just like many of you are also doing petty jobs, contract. Ewa ba kunle wo sanwó fún yín, wá fún yín ní front payment. I'm sure some of you understand what I'm saying. In Nigeria now, I'm talking about the Nigerian context. Builder, wá bá wa gbé nǹkankan, ẹ bá wa ru pọnpọ́n, ẹ bá wa ṣe this. Oda, tẹ́ bá wa ṣe tán, what you agree pé wọ́n máa fún yín lówó, you'll be paid. Imagine you go and carry pọnpọ́n. You go and do laborer. Look, iṣẹ́ laborer làwọn náà ṣe ní bíbáyìí. Ó kọ́ ní class síra wọn ni. Don't let anybody deceive you. Look, there are some people that are doing a high-end job. And if you're in that position, you are earning 6 figure. And you're going to be 60,000 pounds, 80,000 pounds. But if you're not in that bracket, no matter. You just cut your coat according to your size. That is all we want in Nigeria. That is the dream of Nigeria that we thought we are having. Then if you commit crime, you go and spend time. So when I was there yesterday with other two, there were 3 other international journalists. The other guy, comrade. Do you know that they will be paid for the job? I'm sure you saw the video while I was doing my own video. What they are doing is different from what I was doing, but we want to capture the same storyline. We call it byline in journalism. Because Emi story in Yelano from my own side. But titi one, they are going to submit it to be able to get paid. The question is, who pay me for my own? But the work we went to do yesterday, is it not the reason why we are here? When it comes to not going back to Nigeria, and those of you in Nigeria have not survived, because somebody took money that should have been used to fix Nigeria and use it for their own. So when we look at the minimum wage, we cannot compare economy to economy, but I think that Nigerians can be paid per hour. Not to say we are paying you 35,000 naira block for the month. It should be per hour. Some might argue that it might not work that way, but I don't think Nigerians should be paid less than the current inflation of the country. This is the argument between the NLC and the federal government. Look, inflation has, in the paper today, we've talked about, I just want to carry you along so that most of you also must understand that how do you get funded? I told you that. We asked for funding. We didn't even get 1 million. I'm not sure why. Maybe people thought it was not necessary to support the job. Some contributed, which we are very grateful. Somebody gave me 2,000 naira. I'm grateful. Because if I have 1,000 people give me 2,000 naira, then I could also say, okay, that's why I was saying yesterday that don't come on this platform and say, I am sick. If you're sick, go to your government. Because as far as I'm concerned, I am not your government. I am just a media that wants to make sure that we push our message out there to the people. But when you are looking at me and say, if I have one small problem, no, instead of Koikimedia, NGO àtàwọn tó ń béèrè owó for that purpose in Nigeria. I'm not going to mention their names, But I'm sure a lot of you know the people I'm talking about. The people that are saying that, I am dealing with the bigger problem. And I must be able to compete with routers and AFP, Tajo Padilano. Because I don't know how they're going to portray the Zeni to you. I must come out and say, no, and this is, they're not going to talk about Nigeria apart from cases that like that. But we are dealing with the bigger picture. In Okoni, a lot of people are owing me like this and they refuse to pay. Why? Now, if they refuse to pay, do you know that if the institution was working, you don't need to argue with anybody so that you don't have high blood pressure. Just take their details and take it to the nearest local government that will then tell you, go to another place and they will deal with the problem. But they deal with the problem here individually. So somebody owe you 5,000 naira for a job that you have completed. Even if you do not complete that job properly, they must now say that you have not done the job properly. So if we are saying that Nigeria is not working as it is today, is because of some of these factors. Because according to Jeremy On, the lowest, the world lowest, I want to need below. And do you know how many of them? We have about 2 million people have been lifted from absolute poverty by removing barriers to work and making work pay. Kí ló mean by that? Wọ́n yọ gbogbo in tó lè fa okùnfà. Kí ló ń fa okùnfà tẹ́ fi rí iṣẹ́ ṣe ní Nàìjíríà? Ẹ máa fún mi ní example. Kí ló ń fa okùnfà? Kó lè yé yín ní ẹ̀ràn kó òyìnbó burú gan. Kò ń pè mí náà gbọ́ òyìnbó. Ẹ má worry gbogbo kọ́tàkàtà tí mo ń sọ. Mo ti pẹ́ níbí báyìí ni. Kò sẹ́ni kankan tó gbọ́ òyìnbó kankan. Ẹ tẹ̀ ní sọ̀rọ̀ mo wo program Yorùbá Wuyì. Sister mi, wọ́n ní gẹ̀ kan bú Ìgbòho. Mo ń bọ̀ fún ẹ. Bomb bastard. Wọ́n ló sọ pé òyìnbó tí Ìgbòho ń sọ àbí kankan. Ẹ máa kí n divert. But one actress ni mo kàn wo fídíò sister wa Yorùbá Wuyì. Àfi kí n má rántí mọ́ tí bá máa ṣe program. Wọ́n ló lọ comment sábẹ́ page tí Ìgbòho fi kí wa pé I remain strong. Wọ́n ló wá sọ pé English na your kí ló tẹ̀ sọ́nà. Àwọn máa lè. Only English na your leader. People move to so. How did we get to all this, you know? But mon padà bọ̀ fún ẹ mo pé sister mi Yorùbá Wuyì ti ó ti gbé fún tán. But only English na your mate. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni bàbá mi Kọ́lá wọlé ẹ wà ńbẹ̀. Ẹ máa ọmọ jàgbàjàgbà ẹ ṣá. She want to make a name. Okay, ṣé ká kọ fi sílẹ̀ ńgbà yẹn. Oda ẹ jẹ́ ká fi sílẹ̀. Ká má tún máa promote. Ó fẹ́ forúkọ Ìgbòho tajà ni. So let's come back to the conversation. Nigerians, we are not attacking you. You should be paid. Producer.